Situation Room.
8 minutes.
The only way to
How
start
are you doing? Welcome to that Monday, the 23rd of October, 2023, Kenya's biggest conversation. Tonight at 8:30 p.m., a new show premieres on Maisha Magic Plus on DSTV, channel 163 and GoTV, channel 3. This new show is called Zari, and it will be airing from tonight. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Back next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Big show. Where I'm telling you, if you want people like Brenda Wairimu, Sarah Hassan and others, they're in this particular one. It is big. It's what we've been talking about for a couple of days. And now it'll be playing from tonight on Maisha Magic Plus. Many people who have been waiting up for this will watch it. And Angie Magio is also starring in this one. Dennis Musyoka acting as Dylan. We had a conversation with him last week. If you'd like to watch it, just dial *423# or you can download my DSTV or my GoTV app to get or stay connected. Also, today is the beginning of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon 20th edition. The virtual race.
Yes, and how you ask, is it the first day? Well, it's because it's the virtual race that starts taking place today. Where are you? Anywhere in the world, really. If you've logged on to www.nairobimarathon.com and registered for the race, and the virtual one more, so that means that you can run wherever. Now, please, let's understand ourselves. If you're doing the 10K, it doesn't mean you can run 2K today and 2K tomorrow. No, you run the whole 10K today, and then you put your time on the leaderboard, but that means that you were not available come the 29th, and then join everybody else in finding out what their timings were come the 29th of October. And remember, you can still register, get in line for the race that supports the Future Makers program, which helps young people, especially girls and people living with disability, to learn, earn and grow.
Indeed. We are privileged to host this morning the former governor of Kiambu County, the Honorable William Kabogo. Good morning, William.
Morning. How are you doing?
Very well. Good to have you here.
Nice to be here after a long time.
You're looking like Kibaki.
They say so.
William
so.
Kibaki.
Kibaki looks like me.
Kibaki looks like you. Now, there's only one way it can go, this one. Sure. You are looking like the late Mwai Kibaki. And you can see how. Yeah,
I know.
Talk to him. Talk like him.
Apumzike pole pole. He was a great man.
Indeed, he was.
Actually, I was going through some of my old photos and I saw a photo of Kibaki and I. And I just tweeted, I miss Kibaki. Kibaki's times were easy. He had God's favor. May he rest in peace.
Indeed.
Kenya misses Kibaki.
We all do.
I think he's the greatest president we have ever had, according to me. That's my vote.
Many will agree with you. City has the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from Zanzibar.
Yes, Unguja, not Ugunja, where Pio and I comes from. This is Zanzibar. And one must lay credit where credit is due, isn't it?
Yes.
Swahili is one of the three main languages of Zanzibar. So at least the first three proverbs of the week will be in Kiswahili, then we'll try and translate them into the English language.
Yeah.
Heri kufa macho kuliko moyo.
Heri kufa macho kuliko moyo. Mr. Kabogo.
You better lose vision, but not life. That's the way I look at it.
It's put it well. You know, this is a man who lived many years in Mombasa. So his knowledge of the Kiswahili language belies his heritage. So I don't think he's going to mix his L's and R's.
Kufahamu na kuelewa Kiswahili.
Bas, did I not say? Yes.
What's the deeper meaning of this proverb?
Well, it depends on what side you look at it. But it literally means you'd rather not see, but you're alive. Wengine, they say, funga lako jicho. You see what where I'm getting at. So sometimes it's good to understand that life is not only vision, not what you see. And you understand that most people who are visually impaired, who do not see, who are challenged that way, their other senses are triple or double what yours are.
Yeah.
So I take it literally that that's what it means.
Okay.
For lack of a better expression.
No, you've done it well. A lot's happening in the country, William. You know, in terms of the economy, people's psyche, everything, and all that also is happening in Kiambu. There is a lot of conversation in Kiambu. We'll come to Kiambu. Let's start nationally.
As a matter of fact, I never discuss Kiambu. Because every time you want to open your mouth and say anything about Kiambu, they say, "Oh, G-Trade lover, oh, this guy has failed, oh, this guy," you know all these things. And
you're one of the 1 million
I am not
voters
a politician, and I say this many times. I'm not a politician. Politicians have that behavior, and unfortunately, we have very many of them in Kenya. I'm a leader, and once I'm done with elections, if I'm not in office, I'm done with it. There are better things to do other than just being in politics. As I said here before, and I'll continue saying, politicians think about the next general election. You can see the mood now. They're already talking 27. We're hardly 1 year after elections. But leaders think about the next generation. And by the way things are going here in this country today, there's a lot to worry about. Because it looks like it's just elections and elections and elections. Promises and promises and promises. As I was driving here, because I was on my way, then I turned around because it was supposed to be 9. So I was very much on radio. And at some point I heard His Excellency the President say, we shall deliver on our promises. We are working on our manifesto and we're implementing our manifesto. He kelele kidogo here and there. They can continue making noise, but at some point they will congratulate us. That may be so, or the intentions are good. But whether that will happen or not is a big question. I would rather action than words. We just see things are happening. Cost of living is coming down. That means cost of fuel comes down. Easy access to opportunities for all Kenyans. Kenyans earning meaningful life in terms of wage. Because with all the increase in prices, cost of living, and the Kenyan worker still earns the same. That's why you hear every 10 minutes a Kenyan loses a phone. I heard on, I think it was Kiss this morning, and they're saying every 10 minutes a Kenyan loses a phone. And my calculation is there are 12 busy hours in a day. So 12 by 60, 720, right? So 720 by 10, 72 phones every 10 minutes. That means that there is a problem in this country. And kupigwa geta, order of the day now. I was asking one of my colleagues to come to work on Sunday night. We had an issue that required an electrical engineer. And he lives in Githurai. So I said, Nicholas, why don't you find your way into our site? He says, boss, hapa saa 3, huwezi toka nje. I said, but you must come to work. No, boss, haiwezekani. It's not possible. Unless unitumie gari dinga ikuje tu mpaka my doorstep, I will not leave my house. So I imagine that that is how it is in the whole country. Lakini, as they say, watu ya siasa ni kupiga kifua. They want to force us to believe that everything is okay.
Everything is okay.
Yeah, and it's not.
William,
And you know it's not okay.
You're saying you'd rather see action than hear words. Are you saying you're not seeing action?
I'm saying, just now I got into a gas station by Westlands to fuel. Normally, I'd fuel 8,000 shillings, and my car shows above half. 8,000 just now went to a quarter. So, if you're telling me that, I see action, I would have loved to see my gauge go towards half. Meaning, what I would have done with 8,000 a year ago, I would need 16,000 today.
Or that you can only do half of that.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we have to tighten our belts when things get thick. So I would have to really decide, where do I go? Must I go? Because if you avoid going, means you avoid spending. But some of us are such that you must be everywhere at every one time. So things are hard for Kenyans. Let's just be honest.
So what action are you looking for that you're not seeing? Of course, yes, you can see
Action
the price of fuel
that
is
is
going up.
one geared towards making life bearable for Kenyans. Because what you see is one has run to central Kenya to try and put Kenyans together. These tribal groupings will never help this country. And I'm referring to the meetings that the Deputy President has been holding in central Kenya the last few weeks. We are done with elections. It is unfortunate that one may think they have no base, because in Kenyan politics, you probably require to have a base. Like when you talk about Raila, you say he has his base in Kibra, he has his base in Luwu Nyanza, he has his base in Nairobi Eastlands. But again, elections. When are we going to stop talking about elections? So we are now thinking 2027. Who will be with who, where, to do what? Just to get seats, power. Power, money, power, money. That's the cycle.
But that's you who's seeing that, William, because on one hand you may be a leader, but also on the other hand you've played the political game. So you are seeing the political side of things. Are you saying
if you tell me,
minus the political side of things, there's nothing else that you see happening?
If I run back the clock, 2002, I would never participate in politics in this country. If I was given a new life in 2002, what I know today, I would rather just be a businessman and be a businessman and a serious businessman, not only in Kenya.
Why?
Right now, if you are to import anything that has steel, you will pay 3 times what you paid last year. You know, cost of developing homes, what I do, has become so much. And why? People don't want to see through the lenses. They just see. They just feel like, government is just pushing prices up. No, there must be some peculiar interests that are being served. Is it for the general good of the country, or is it for the good of a few? You understand what I'm trying to say? But I don't want to step on people's shoes, but it is painful to do business now in this country. I've been looking to diversify a little bit towards South Africa. And the only question that you worry about in South Africa is xenophobia. But otherwise, business environment is conducive out there. So I'm saying, in a Kenyan situation, we need to ask our leaders to tone down the politics and probably try and worry about the feeling of the general public in terms of survival. Everyone is on a survival mode right now.
William, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
What you now know, there are people who are going into politics headlong and they think that is a serious career path. What is it that you now know that makes you reflect back?
That, one, our politics is not about Kenya. It's about personal interest and how you can get rich quickly.
That's it.
That's it. That's what our politics is all about. I was reading yesterday that someone has bought a villa in Dubai for 270 million
Kenya shillings.
Kenya shillings.
Lovely.
And from, when you read between the lines, it looked like this guy was zero, or this she. Is it a he or she?
Nowadays, you never know.
Let's say they were zero.
They were zero.
Yes.
But you've managed to buy a flat in Dubai for 270 million. Where would you find that kind of money? What is this that you have learned at the age of 54 that you could not have done the last 54 years, but you've acquired some serious acumen, business acumen, to be able to make that kind of money?
Well, you say it. One hears of people who, before the previous election, required soft loans from friends to simply get along and to do what other people do by working.
Without mentioning names.
I cannot possibly mention names.
I have given soft loans. 2012, $1 million shillings to someone. That someone today
Clearly has more money than you.
not only than me, than anybody else. But you know, that's a story. That's a story of another. That's a story of another day.
You know, when I talk to people from Kiambu, and I have many friends from Kiambu, I look at the time when you're governor and some of the people who had some of the most vile things to say about you. Same people whom I've spoken to since.
Yes.
And I have been pleasantly surprised. Well, part of the reason is because I've told him that you're known to me and I've known you
Yes.
for a long time.
Yes.
And I said, you know, that man set up systems. We knew who did what. There were structures.
That's it.
Kembo was organized.
Yes.
I said it was. So then what happened? The reason I was given was, you know how politics is. I said, no, I don't. Explain to me, how is
Yes.
politics? Because you're saying this now. Was it not visible then? Why am I saying this? To make you feel a little good about yourself, but also to the question I asked initially. You see, this idea of people wanting to make as much money as they can for themselves, there is a provision here that I have to consider. They seem to think that the way they go about it is a free fall and they'll never be held accountable.
True.
That is why they seem to head in that direction in droves. Now, I am of the view that the day of reckoning is not far. That is my view.
Something happens in this country because, one, I avoid talking Kiambu, but at the risk of looking like a jilted lover,
Which you're not.
to make a country grow, things need to happen. Systems need to be in place. And government will always change. I want to tell my friend William Ruto, a day will come he will not be president. A day came, Kenyatta is not president. But if, yes, he is not
A
president
day came,
anymore.
Kenyatta,
Yes.
one died, and that's the one person,
Yes.
those of us who are young, one didn't envision Kenya being without Kenyatta.
That's it.
It happened.
So, power is transient. If we want to grow our country, we must be serious about what we do. And we must be moved by the need of making Kenya work. But as I said earlier, from those that we elect, and I was listening to PLO giving a talk somewhere in Ghana about saying that we are our own problems because we elect people who cannot help us, people who cannot lead us to where we should be. I did systems, yes, as you say, in Kiambu. Everything was working perfectly okay. And number one was to eliminate handling of cash.
Yes.
We needed systems, money to be paid in a system, not in people's pockets.
That is the context, because they talked about the amount of revenue Kiambu used to raise
Yes.
in your time.
We moved the revenues from 700 million a year to 2.8 billion. Not by adding any taxes, by making sure that theft is reduced to almost zero. If I had done a second term, probably Kiambu would have been the first self-sufficient or self-funding county in the Republic, and it is possible to happen. When I went in, we found that a bottle of water, 300 ml, the county was buying at 300 shillings. 3 times the price of fuel then. Water. Sugar, I think 400 shillings. Doom, I don't know for what purpose. You know all these things. And when I saw that, I said, oh my God, how can this be? What did I do? I stopped entire purchasing. I stopped it. I said, for 14 days, we are buying nothing. I send people out, go to Nakumat, go to Quickmart, go to all the supermarkets, get me a price list of all these things, and find a mean price for everything. I convened a cabinet quickly, and we said we are not purchasing anymore the way we do. We must purchase from these supermarkets, and the highest price we pay is the mean that we have found among supermarkets. Because if Nakumat sells water at 40 bob, it means they're making some money. So why should we pay more than 40 bob? What happens? Everyone disappeared. All the suppliers. They all disappeared because they were no longer going to make the kill. And there is where we started. Where are the quick fruits? What can we reap quickly? By stopping CFOs from going to a bank to collect 10 million shillings for interest.
Do you think the same can be graduated to a national level?
It can be, yes.
Because is that what we're talking
It
about?
is
now?
the will, but when you, in whose interest? This is how you look at it. If you stop a CFO from collecting 10, 20 million shillings cash from National Bank, you have stopped people from receiving cash. Yes. And these people are in those offices to make cash, not to make Kenya a better place. And this is the problem of our politics.
As we take a break, William, did you, at the end of the first term of the county government of Kiambu, were there pending bills?
I think we had pending bills of about 180 million, and that was bills that were spreading, projects that were spreading, or programs that were spreading between 1 and 3 years. It's always possible to have pending bills, but not excessive pending bills. Why would you have pending bills of 9 billion in Kiambu County when your annual revenues from Exchequer is about 7 billion? What is the logic? How do you incur money that you don't have? Government does not spend money it doesn't have.
Yeah.
Government does not have borrowings that they do in reserve banks to make programs happen. You budget what you anticipate to receive. So unless you tell me you are budgeting for 7 billion and you got 6, so you have a deficit of 1 billion to cover, it's just pure theft. You know, I understand that for a governor to collect money from potential contractors is easy. Float a tender. Tell your friends, you will give you this, but you need to go off 10%. So he pays 10% or 20% or whatever it is, that becomes a bill in the future. Because if that contract is not given or awarded to this fellow, then he knows that he needs to shout to the governor or to whoever it is. So you will find very many ghost projects that will never take off. Even these spending bills, are they real bills? They cannot be real.
That has been the
Where was the control of budget? Every year, you do your paper in terms of preparations of budget. These things goes to the control of budget. How do they never see these things? Inchi ya kitu kidogo.
Wizi.
This is our problem.
28 minutes to 9. Kenya's biggest conversation, hosting William Kabogo. What do we call you now? So, former governor.
Kabogo, William, simple.
Yeah,
Yes.
former governor, okay.
Now a farmer for the time being.
Farmer now, okay.
Developer.
Developer,
Yes.
okay. What else?
And you know, I've seen things happen in this country from 2002. It's over 20 years of experience in terms of leadership, politics, etc.
Experienced observer of the goings on in the country.
Right
Okay.
now, there's a good project that the government is trying to
Tell
do.
us about it after the break.
Yes.
Let's do this break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is Times is brightening up your world with amazing kids content. Lots of unforgettable moments to enjoy.
Wow, amazing.
Celebrate with us to stand a chance to win amazing weekly prizes in our lucky draw. Buy any StarTimes decoder at any of our business halls or dealer shops nationwide. Recharge your monthly subscription and stand a chance to win.
Hooray! All right!
Enjoy a variety of your favorite cartoons from our amazing kids channels. From our family to yours. Asante for welcoming us into your homes. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
One woman you won't forget.
Grandpa, I'll make better products that'll surely help others.
You really remind me of myself. Magda.
You want to look at my formula? The Narcissus are your family! All of you! You're all horrible! Fire, please help! I'll pay for this! They're suing me for direct assault because of what happened at the wake.
We find Magdalena Mendoza guilty of assault.
I am God. Hell has no fury like a woman scorned.
How do you know the Narcissus? We will make them pay for everything they've done.
Her wrath has no limits.
From now on, I'll be Lena.
Sikuwa na otherwise nikarudia Ariel. Mi hupata clean and fresh results kwa mosho mmoja tu. Ariel ndio siri yangu. Sasa story yangu iko popular sana.
Ariel, usafi bora kwa mwosho mmoja tu.
Wewe, ni wewe Bwana, ni wewe, haubadiliki. Ni wewe, ni wewe Bwana, ni wewe, haubadiliki. Ni wewe, ni wewe Bwana, ni wewe, haubadiliki. Ni wewe, ni wewe Bwana, ni wewe, haubadiliki. Unaitwa Nisi, unaitwa Shalom, unaitwa Jire, unaitwa Yahweh. Ni wewe Bwana, ni wewe.
Yes, man.
I'm single again.
Nyanjo tu wangu wa senali. Season yetu siwali.
I be like Terminator. I deliver. Kama umemchoka tuachie sisi.
Asemaje?
Tumle paka mifupa sisi ndo mafisi.
Alini block, saying scan and stop. Anasema Brandy, will rewind.
Catherine, I went into drugs. You only see this now smart-looking young man doing streetnizers, but he was deep-rooted.
In drugs?
Very deep.
Whoa.
In fact, I was selling drugs, I was abusing them.
So even when you're a hairdresser, you were in...
Even when I was making your hair before I got married. I've gone through so much. I paid the price with the loss of my child. It's very key, because after losing that child is when God opened my eyes and told me that I'll bless you with children. And I didn't know how it meant. Meeting the boys and asking myself, I've lost a baby, I'm so young in marriage, and I'm here, I'm one of the best hairdressers in Kenya. Something needs to fill that space.
One of the things you mentioned that really sticking in my head here, and maybe you talk about the fact that, Kenya's politicians are not there for the people of Kenya. That really it is for individuals here. And then we kind of see this whereby when we look at development, when we look at, the implementation of certain policy to make life better for Kenyan citizens, that doesn't really seem to take off as often as, or as much for us as we'd like to. So if we know, and I've said it often, that leaders will often show you what they mean. You don't have to go beyond a word.
Let's imagine that leaders, to start with, are MPs. Let's start there.
Okay.
You are elected to go and represent your constituents, right?
Yep.
It's not a secret that Kenyans are crying of cost of living.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a secret. And I'm sure even yourselves have felt the changes in your pockets in terms of expenditure and
It's
what
profound.
what you need to do to get from point A to point B. But as this happens, what have you heard our MPs saying? Which one have you heard talking about the problems their constituents are facing?
Unfortunately, none.
What they tell you is that this is a global problem. And so suffer quietly because it's a global problem. I have seen today, it's like some of us may be happy that Israel and Hamas is happening because now they have said in today's paper, if you look, they're saying, it will get even worse now with Hamas and Israel.
The effect of that war
Yes.
on our country.
It may have an effect. I'm not saying it will not. But that is not the cause of our problems.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not. The president, as a man, may have good intentions. But all these people around him, what's their business? Do they do what is expected of them by Kenyans?
And why
I
don't
expect every other advisor around President William Ruto to tell him plain truth of what is happening. But when I listen to David and D, I'm like, good God. You're not telling us that, we listened to these pledges. And then he says mockingly, and you believed. Quote, and you believed. And the guy is still in office.
As a leader, at the point where you were in office, because I often wonder that, there is the individual who speaks to Kenyans atop vehicles or wherever it is and says, I am going to do 1, 2, 3. Just give me an opportunity. I mean, you've done it. Give me an opportunity to lead you. And so we can speculate about what goes on in your head at that point. Now, let's move to when you are actually in the position. Do you expect Kenyans to hold you accountable for the things that you said that you were going to do, or for this position where you speak of where you would expect that the very rights, the very expectations of Kenyans will be the things that you do every day? Do you expect that Kenyans will hold you accountable? Because I often think the reason why...
I expect they should.
They should. Yes. I often think that the reason why we see this kind of behavior is that people in those positions will assume that Kenyans will not ask them about their goings on. So
but
they'll
also
just
they're asking
continue
Kenyan, what is in the mind of the asking Kenyan? We've made our politics such that if I go to the village and I can afford to dish 500 bob to everyone who comes around, then I don't need to be
held accountable.
My accountability is how much money I can dish in how long a time. And this, if it doesn't change, this is the culture that we are developing, and it will never change. Africa will never grow if this is the attitude of our voter. Surely, at the risk of when you have a governor in Nairobi who is elected on a popular vote, very popular vote, that has never run anything, has never run any office, has no clue what the governorship is all about, what is expected of you, where you derive your powers from. Right now, if you look at all the 47 counties, I'm sure governors believe that they are the apex authority. But the apex authority in a county is not the governor. It is that body, that committee, comprised of 10, including the governor and the deputy governor. How many convene those meetings? How many get to a table and they tell the governor, no, we cannot go this way as a county? How many? It is how much money the governor will move, how much money he will give to who. And this is a culture that I'm talking about in this country. It is painful to see these things happening. And it is possible to develop this country. It is possible. It can be done.
So why doesn't it happen? Because, William, the things that you've said today, the difference between a politician and a leader, somebody who is not in this for themselves, somebody who is in this to benefit the people, his people, her people. If you listen to many of our politicians, many of our elected leaders, one-on-one, they will speak the same language.
Yeah, they will speak, but do they do?
Hear them
do they
speaking
do?
the same
do they
language.
do? Do they act?
And that's the thing I'm asking.
They act differently from what they speak.
What is it that makes them act differently from what they speak?
You want to be a populist to start with. You want to be elected next term. So they are driven by next term, next election. That if I didn't give a damn if I was going to get the second term. I didn't give a damn. I did what I had to do. I made difficult decisions. I probably lost my seat because I was a threat to many, not because I didn't do what I was expected to do in Kiambu. Till today, you've had the issue of healthcare in Kiambu, the best. Till today. If systems were put in place and they worked, Latif, I would have allowed my son to go to hospital in Kiambu Hospital. If he had come to see me someplace in Kiambu and he got into a small accident and he needed Medicare, he would have gone to Kiambu and I would have been happy that he will be fine. Is it the situation today? You remember I kept complaining to Kidero. Make your hospitals, put medicine in the dispensaries. We are treating Nairobi people more than we are treating Kiambu. Machakos, they bought, 20 ambulances. Not to take people to their hospitals, to bring them to Thika and other places. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So these guys, it gets to a point you think you're in the wrong country. It gets to a point and you feel like you just want to move.
Would you say
the cost of doing business here now, as a businessman now I speak, not as a politician, is becoming so difficult to make ends meet genuinely as a businessman here. And if you go down south in South Africa, regardless of the xenophobia and things like that, because I've been there, you can start a business in South Africa in 4 weeks and you're up and running. Up and running. We are now importing from South Africa than importing from Europe because, one, the dollar. I want you to ask yourself, if this problem of the dollar is global, as we are told, why hasn't it affected Tanzania? Why is there money supply, US dollar supply in Tanzania, in Uganda? Why is it that the shilling and the rand are still at 7.6? What is happening here with the dollar that we do not know?
What is it?
You tell me, I don't know.
It's being hoarded. It's not
The
complicated.
inflow of dollars is still the same. Kenyans abroad, or diaspora as you call them, are still sending money home, right?
Yes, they are.
But there is a shortage. To pay school fees last week, I could not send money to school in one go. I needed to wait 2, 3, 4 days to collect 2,700 pounds, 2,300 pounds, 2,000 per day. This has never been the case.
Why is
So
that
there is
shortage?
no supply. There is lack of dollars in the market.
It's not
But there's
import.
still inflows,
No, it's
meaning money is not flowing out. So where is the money?
It's being hoarded.
For how long?
If it's
For how long?
hoarded, it can't circulate. The way money works, it has to circulate. If it's not circulating, and we know it came in, so where is it?
So the law of demand and supply kicks in. So there is too many of us chasing the dollar. So the dollar becomes expensive.
So somebody has made sure that there's a shortage, because then you benefit. When there's this shortage, the Kenyan shilling does what it does. You see, the shortages can be caused. There's a question I want to ask William before we get to this dollar situation, and the dollar situation is a good one to dovetail from. There are those who philosophize and think about human nature, and they say that if you want to know the true nature of someone, give them a position of authority.
Yes.
Would you say that the positions of authority that our political leaders have give us a very clear picture of who these people actually are?
Let me just give you another example. They say when you find a drinking person,
yes,
man or he or she, they drink and get high. What they do and say is who they are.
In vino veritas.
That's who they are.
In wine there is truth.
So
Yes.
give a man power. Give a man money. And he will show exactly what he is.
So
That's
it. You do not need to think, overthink, analyze. You can see.
No. Same monkeys, same forests, but you expect different results. Amazing.
So then are we saying that that's who we are as Kenyans? Because
Generally,
we keep trying different leaders.
Generally, yes.
We remove one leader, you bring in another one, and you're still in the same pit. You bring in other leaders at national level, at county level, you still find ourselves in the same
Someone
pit.
told me a very painful thing to listen to, even to fathom, that sometimes you need a benevolent dictator to move from where we are to the next level. And I'm not calling Paul Kagame a dictator, but that is a good example of a country that has grown.
You know this concept of
1994, Rwanda was zero.
It was actually below zero.
Today, Rwanda is on top in terms of growth of nations in the world, not in Africa, in the world. We tend to think our solution to our problems is democracy. And democracy has not worked. If it's not working in America, will it work here? I'm not saying that make me a dictator and I'll sort Kenya. If I were, Latif, I am telling you the truth, I'll fix it. I will fix it. Like now, the president has a very good idea about giving us homes.
Yeah.
It's important because shelter is one of the things we fought for.
And it's a fundamental right, really.
But how this project will be implemented, in my mind, is still a very big question. When you start a fund, you should be able to make regulations about the fund. How will it be administered? Okay, to be collected 3% or whatever it is of your basic pay, up to a maximum of so much. That is easy. How will you identify where the project will be done? How will you identify the contractor? What will happen if you project 7 years? What will happen to those who will have contributed in those 7 years, but have only contributed 20, 30,000 shillings over 7 years? So how will you relate that house to the contributor? You understand what I'm saying? The idea is great. Rwanda went the same road. And every other young person under the age of, I think, 41 or 39, then got a mortgage facility from government. And they now own homes because it's 20 years later. You understand? How many Kenyans will own homes? And I'm talking about the lower cadre of society. And no, I'm not talking about the Latifs, Kabogo and others. I'm talking about Mama Mboga. How will she get a flat of 2.5 million shillings after 7 years? Is it going to be possible? Big question.
So
and the president can come up with a good idea, but there must be
a support system.
It must be discussed and turned upside down like ugali to make sure that you have left no stone unturned in terms of how it shall be implemented and the effect of this project 10 years from now. At the risk of sounding negative, government has no business building homes. Government has no business building homes. The idea is great.
So what would you
but
rather?
leave the building of homes to the private industry. How can it work? I've said it before.
That's how it's
let me
working.
try and explain. How would I do it? Government makes policies. For example, government finances banks.
Yeah.
I mean, regulates banks.
Licenses banks.
Licenses banks. What would be the effect of government making a policy today and saying, Equity Bank, Barclays Bank, Absa Bank, in your regulations, we want to say 5% of your portfolio must go to mortgage. And we want to go further and say 5%, 5% of your of your portfolio, say Equity has a portfolio of 1 trillion, 5% must go to mortgage. At an interest rate of 5%, why are we dictating the interest rate? To make sure that the Kenyan prospective homeowner gets mortgage at 5%. So what happens to the other bit? Because the bank is a commercial bank. I would propose to state to allow those banks to represent the difference, 5%, and allow it as an expenditure for income tax purposes. That will allow tax to be spent at source. But to a Kenyan to own a home, then Kabogo the builder, you the developer, we will make homes and banks will give money to Kenyans
to purchase the homes.
To purchase homes at 5%. And that bank, in its annual returns to government, it shall produce 5% that it should have earned on that loan and be allowed for income tax purposes. Zote tujenge taifa pamoja. But when you leave it to the state to collect money in form of taxes or contributions and then send 9 to 20 billion a month to these programs without you having checked on a spreadsheet what's going to happen 7-8 years from now, a good idea will have gone waste and so much money
would have been lost.
Probably have white elephant programs.
Why?
What happened to the housing project in Kibra? Let's start there. What happened to Kibra? Those guys got allocations.
Yeah.
They took the houses, and the following month they went back to Kibra and sold
the houses.
Those opportunities to Latif and to Kabogo and to others. The idea is brilliantly good. It's a good idea.
Why then do you think, Kabogo, that this is not being implemented? Because we've asked that question. I mean, the conversation...
The president has come up with a good idea. He needs people to support him by ideas and telling him, if we go this way, we will fail.
But the issue of regulations was also at the president's table. I mean, it's something that even he has said. We will start, but within a short time, we'll have regulations. There's something that this government is very keen on doing or very fond of doing. Started the what's it called? Hustler Fund with regulations, but not implementation of the regulations. The Housing Fund without regulations. We have now gone into this new health program without regulations. Why do you think they're keen on implementing program and then regulations will catch up later?
And all these programs have in it inbuilt a
levy.
Yes, I was going to be more polite. I was going to say a money collecting scheme. All of it.
That's what I'm saying. Teamwork. The president cannot do everything by himself. That is why the David D's are supposed to be there.
Excuse me. We had a member of parliament here on Friday. He sits in the health committee.
Yes.
And he was talking about, and even other MPs have told us, when it came to these 4 bills for UHC, the president would personally follow up on what's happening in parliament through his ministers, but also directly. Where are my bills? Are my bills moving? If there's anything that's locking those bills, can we have those conversations? Can you discuss? Can you agree? But can we have the bills? So that by the 20th of October, I can launch UHC. So the same way, the president knows that those bills need to come alive with regulations. He was talking about it yesterday. He was saying, now we have the bills. Now by December, we'll have the regulations. Why do we have to wait until December for regulations?
The bill, Latif, the bill is the what? How about the how? How will it be done?
Yes.
When is that discussed? And that is the disconnect. I'm saying brilliant things.
Shouldn't the how be discussed before all this?
That's part of it.
Yes. So that
you know the what is
the what we've got.
The what we got it right. It's the housing we need. Kenyans want housing.
Got that. Yes.
But the how should have been the major debate. How will this transcend from current 10 years of William Ruto's presidency to the next 50 years for Kenyans owning homes, long after we're gone?
And that's why I'm harping on that point. The how is also as clear to William Kabogo as it is clear to William Ruto. Regulations and all. We are into how many months of the housing fund? And we still don't have regulations in place for managing the housing fund. That's collecting billions every month. And new projects being launched. Yesterday we spoke about launching a new project in Dagoretti South.
Did you have a look at the presentation by, was it Hinga?
Yes.
Who did...
Hinga actually came here.
A number of times.
He did some... remember when he was really sweating?
Yes.
Why was he sweating so bad?
It was a warm day.
It's a fact
warm day in July.
of the matter that he is not too sure about what he's saying.
That's correct.
I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart that the housing project is a
but won't start. Let's do the news first. It's 9 a.m. William Kabogo is our guest. Good morning.